It's Gloria Donahue from Nana's Cookery back again. I love to make sweetbreads. I've put some recipes on for some yeast-raised doughs, but sometimes you just want a quick coffee cake. My husband goes to bed before I do. And sometimes after he goes to bed, I think, you know what I feel like? I feel like a glass of cold milk and a piece of coffee cake. So I will go out into the kitchen and make one. Then he'll have a nice fresh coffee cake in the morning with just one square out. There are a number of them. I'm going to make one today that's just called Old Fashioned Crumb Cake. It's from my Sweet Adeline cookbook from many years ago. I can't show you the cookbook. It's so disreputable. It's got more spots on it. I could probably eat a meal from it. But it's a very simple recipe. I'm going to read to you what's in it. 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of flour, 1/4 cup of oil. You mix those together. You take out a cup of that mixture, and to that you add 1/2 teaspoon cinnamon and 1/4 teaspoon nutmeg. Now you mix 1/2 cup of buttermilk. I use the powdered because I don't use enough fresh buttermilk to go out and buy it. So I buy this brand, keeps in the refrigerator after you open it. It's a tablespoon for each 1/4 cup. So you use this and water to make the buttermilk, and I think it works fine. And 1 egg, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and a greased 8-inch pan. 8-inch pan. So we're going to start now. Remember, with brown sugar, you always pack it very firmly. Flour is the opposite. You want to get it in there very lightly. You do not want to pack it in. You'd be surprised if you weighed flour in doing it 2 different ways, just scooping it lightly or really packing it in, the difference that you would have in the flour. You'd have a lot more with it fully packed. So you just put it in very lightly and level it off. So we're going to put that in, and we're going to put in 1/4 cup of canola oil. And that's going to be the shortening in this, which isn't very much. So we're going to put that in there, and then we're going to start the mixer. Only first I have to plug it in. Just brought it over. Every time I think I'm getting better and fully prepared, I goof again. Just going to do it at a low speed, and it's just gradually going to form a crummy mixture. You take a look at my towel. Remember, I always said use a clean towel when you start to cook. Make sure your hands are clean, and then get a nice clean towel. And one of the things I like to do when I travel is to pick up tea towels. And this particular one is from New Brunswick. And this I got on a cruise. New Brunswick is really one of my homes because my mother's from Campobello Island in New Brunswick. But a few years ago we took the grandchildren on a cruise, and one of the stops was St. John. And when I was in St. John, I bought that tea towel. So every time I use it, I think of that trip and the good time we had. And now in my talking, this is crumbed. So you can see what it looks like. It's just crummy, and I'm going to take out a cup. I always say don't buy too many things. Don't buy fancy pans until you know you really like to do it. I don't buy all kinds of strange things, but boy, I do highly recommend numerous sets of measuring cups and measuring spoons, because it's a real nuisance to have to empty one each time every time you want to do something. Now I'm going to take a cup of this, and I'm just going to spread it off. I've already put the cinnamon and the nutmeg in this little bowl. So I'm going to put that in there, and I'm just going to stir that together. This cake is going to be a batter with a crumb topping, and this is going to form the crumb. But it's made from the basic starts of the cake. Another thing I always do, which I've already told you, I always break my eggs separately. If I go a year and don't get a piece of shell, then maybe I'll go into just doing it directly into the product. But that has never happened because I have had a little piece of a shell. If you get a little piece of a shell, the best way to get it out is with the shell. The shell has that sharp edge that will get out that little piece. So use that. Well, now we're going to mix the egg. We're going to mix, remember I said with the buttermilk, I'm going to use 1/2 cup, so that means I need 2 tablespoons of buttermilk powder, and then 1/2 cup of water, And then a half a teaspoon. So I have a 1/4 teaspoon here. I'll just do it twice. And when you use baking soda, it always needs some sort of an acid. And that's what the buttermilk provides, that acid. If it wouldn't be buttermilk, it would be sour cream or lemon juice or something. There's always going to be some sort of an acid in with that. So we're going to mix this. Then I'm just going to put this in the mixture. And I'm going to put it back under the beater for a minute. And again, you can see I have this beater blade with a rubber flange, which I do like. I bought it separately, but it fits my KitchenAid mixer, and it means I have to scrape less often because it really does go around the bowl very nicely. So we're just going to mix this quickly. You know that buttermilk seemed to have clumped a little bit this time. So I'm going to use my favorite thing, and that is the whisk. Because a whisk is just great for breaking down things. Why it clumped this time, who knows? Well, that seems fine. We've got little tiny pieces in there. I'm not worried about that. I'm going to pour it in the greased pan. The pan is already greased. I'm going to pour the batter in it. Use my nice scraper to get out the last bits. I think next time I would add that dry buttermilk to the dry and do it a little bit more than the way I did it. I'm going to put the crumbs on top. And one of the important things to remember is when you're putting crumbs on top of anything is make sure you do it well around the edges, because what happens is as it starts to rise, it'll start to rise around that crumb topping. And if you don't have some along the edge, all the crumbs will go in the middle. So be generous around the edge. And just sprinkle it, you know, when you're first starting and you're not sure, it might take you a little longer to do it because you do want to cover it consistently. And if you've put it all over here and you have none left, it's really very hard to go back because it's so liquidy underneath. But we're just going to, because it'll come up around the edges anyway, that I know. There we are. That probably took about 5 minutes. It's going to go in the oven now for about 20 minutes or so. And you can test it to see when it's done. You know when a cake presses back. But that was even getting things out and putting them together. If you hadn't done that, it would only take a few minutes to put together. It's a very quick coffee cake. And if someone calls and says, gee, I thought I'd stop over this morning, you can give them a nice warm treat. And it'll smell so good with that cinnamon and nutmeg. We're going to put it in the oven now, and I'll see you shortly. Hi, we've taken the coffee cake out of the oven. It's done. It's ready for company. If I did it again, because I hadn't done it for a while, I would mix that buttermilk dry into the mixture before I put the other things in. Even I make mistakes lots of times. You don't need to go and buy yourself a cake tester. I use a jumbo paper clip. I've just straightened it out because I could never find my cake tester. They're very thin. Just take a big giant paper clip, open it up, and put it in. And when it comes out clean, it's done. Thanks again for visiting. Don't forget to be a subscriber. It will make my producers so happy. And they're relations, so I have to keep in good with them. Thanks a lot, everybody. It's been so good to see you again. I hope you have a wonderful day.